Hello, everybody. I'm glad to be back with you. This is Dr. Needham. We're here today with Bob Armbruster, and he's with IntegriServ Cleaning Systems, and we're excited to talk about his franchise. One of the things I want to hear all about is how you can get started for as little as $950. But Bob, why don't you take a few minutes to introduce yourself to our crew here, let them know a little bit about your business, and then we'll come back with some questions. How about that?
Sure. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me today. I really
glad to do it.
I think we've got a really good story to tell, and I'm happy to have the chance to do that. So, yeah, I started from humble beginnings. I've been in the janitorial business for over 24 years.
Wow. Okay.
Started it out of my parents' basement, and built it up over time. Making mistakes like everybody in business. This was a company I founded from scratch. I was actually had a job right out of high school with a sales company. Knocked on a door up in Detroit, Michigan, and made a sales call on this gentleman who had just started a cleaning company. And he was telling me about how great it is to be in this business. And he was, boy, at the time, I think he told me he was making $25 an hour. And I said, wow, at the age of 18, $25 an hour was
all the money in the world, right?
That's big money, right? So
that's right.
I traded, contact information with the gentleman. And I guess over the next 45, 60 days, I was sort of building a unofficial business plan. I guess I really didn't know that, but I was just learning and decided about 2 months after meeting this gentleman that I would give this thing a shot and start a cleaning company. And I went out and I got some business cards printed up and started knocking on doors. And I kid you not, the second door I knocked on, I said, "Hey, I'm Bob. I've got this little cleaning company. Could I give you a quote?" And they said, "Sure." And they hired me. And I was shocked. I don't know how I priced it. I don't know how I got it, but I got it. And I thought, wow, this is going to be easy. And then I knocked on about 2,000 more doors before I got the next piece of business. But that's how it started. And what I'm excited to share with you today is I started this thing from scratch. I've hit all the potholes. I've made the mistakes. There's no need for our franchisees to go through that process that I did. We figured it out. And so what took me 24 years to get to, hopefully we can shorten the time frame for some of our folks to get there in a much faster speed than it took me, and avoid some of the headaches and costly mistakes that could come along with, flying by the seat of your pants.
You bet. Well, Bob, I must say that, when I started the business that I'm in today, it wasn't what I do today. I started like you. As a kid, I mowed yards, and then I figured out there was a trailer park not too far from my house, and people never washed their trailers. And so I came up with this idea of washing outside of the trailers. And, it turned out to be a business where I wound up hiring about a half a dozen kids in the summer. And we washed trailers all summer, made a lot of money. And of course, this was, a few weeks ago. And, and so anyway, but it's, you said it exactly the way I'd love our listeners to pay attention. They don't have to make the mistakes that you made. You spent the time to do that. But what you've done is you've made an affordable franchise for people to get started and earn a decent living with. So I'm really excited to hear more about that. And I understand there's been about 70 franchisees already take advantage of the opportunity. Is that right? Maybe share a little bit about that.
Yep, we're at 70 franchisees. So the company that I founded, the one I told you about, knocking on doors and built it up, we have now, about 700 folks that work for us under that company.
Okay.
And through this process, we've acquired some companies. And about 3 years ago, I came across the company IntegriServ Cleaning Systems. And the gentleman that founded that company was getting close to retirement age and looking for an exit. And, we looked at his business, and I knew a lot about cleaning, obviously, knew a little bit about the franchise world. And after looking at his model and what he had built, he had about 35 franchisees just in Ohio at the time. We liked it, and we thought it was something that we could take and scale up and make bigger and add some improvements to it. And I think that's what we've done. But the base was there, and So fast forward 3 years after we acquired the company, we went ahead and we brought it to other markets. We're now in Central Florida. We took it from just being in Akron and Canton, Ohio, to now being in Toledo and in other cities in Ohio. And so it's pretty exciting to see the model's there. It works. We just needed to scale it, and it's working. And we've got 70 great franchisees, and happy to have all of them.
Exciting. Well, I live now in Columbus, Ohio. I lived in Birmingham for a number of years, and I now live in the Columbus area. Actually, Worthington is a subsidiary, sub area.
Yep.
And so I'd be interested to know if are there any franchisees in this area?
We were talking to somebody the other day. I don't know if it happened yet, but soon.
Oh, maybe my opportunity's shot then, But I love franchising. It's a great form of business. And so, let's talk a little bit about absentee ownership first, if we can. In other words, some people like to invest in franchises and hire crews to work, and other people like to work in their business. Can you kind of just talk about the pathway maybe to absentee ownership in your business?
Sure, absolutely. And I think, if somebody wanted to be an absentee owner with us, certainly we would look at it. I think that I would always encourage people to work in the business and learn the business. You're spending money, you're putting time and effort into an investment. And I think it's probably a good idea that you put some hard work into it, because you get out of it what you put into it.
Of course, right.
I guess kind of what I'm getting at is, can you get to that point where you have folks running the show and you can kind of sit back? I think you can, but it takes time. And I always tell people that, let's go into this kind of dipping our toe in the water first. We don't want to go in and just, if somebody wants to run $1 million business, you don't just start doing $1 million day one.
Well, that's right.
At least not in our business. You want to take your time, and if that's what you want and that's one of your goals, well, then we'll sit down and we'll help you figure out how to get there. And it's not just we're going to give you all that business day one. We're going to say, okay, quarter one we're going to do this, quarter two, and we're going to build you a good plan, and obviously make sure that that's what you want, because not everybody. I think anybody that goes into business, they want to own they think they want to own a big business. I think.
Of course.
And not necessarily, that might not necessarily be what they want. We have to really find out what the reason is behind them wanting to own a business. Of course, money's important, and that's why we all go to work, but there's other driving factors behind that, like the freedom of your own time, or being your own boss, or the dignity of owning your own company and not working for somebody, or just we had a brand new franchisee, husband and wife couple in yesterday. They just signed up. They went through the training. They were sitting down in our office. I heard them out there, so I wanted to go out and introduce myself. And we sat down for about an hour and just chit-chatted. And husband and wife team, and I asked the wife, why did you get into this business? Why did you choose this? And she said, I wanted to follow my husband's dream to own a business. And so I backed him. But once I've gone through the training program, once I got to meet everybody and see how this thing can really work, then it was, boy, we're a family. We have a lot of kids, and I want to be home with my kids. And so, wow, I looked at this and I said, I can be home and spend time with my kids when they're awake. I don't have to come home after my 9 to 5, cook dinner, and then do some homework and the kids go to bed. I get to actually spend quality time with them. And then I go to work when they're sleeping. So for her, the money was the driving factor at first, but the real reason they were in business might have been something else. So to get to the absentee question, I'm going a long way around.
Well, I think you did a great job. Go ahead. Yeah.
Is, we can get there, but let's number one, find out if that's really what you want. And let's take baby steps to get there and make sure that we don't just dive in, because what we don't want to do is set you up for failure. And, if you didn't come from business school, if you didn't come from running a business and this is your first venture, sure, we're going to hold your hand and walk you through the process. But some of this information that we go through in training, it can be like drinking through a fire hose, and you just don't want to, you just don't one day decide you're going to, be a race car driver and go out there and get in the Indy 500. You work towards that. And so same thing, we can get you, if that's your goal, to be an independent owner and absentee owner, we could probably get you there over time with the right training and the right, obviously you have to have the right skill set as well.
Makes sense. We teach in our course, we teach 3 steps, basically. We teach them, it's kind of like crawl, walk, run, if you can think of it that way. The first one is that you work in the business and replace your income that you left. In other words, the job you left. Second, you work on the business and you find a way to accumulate, extra money besides what you would normally make from a regular job. And then third, you grow the business. We call this puzzle piece 9, where you either most people expand versus exit, but it's both exit and expand. You might sell the business, or you could expand the business. And a lot of people grow the business multi-unit, meaning they buy more than one of the same franchise and they start taking up more territory. And then eventually they may even diversify and get businesses that are closely aligned with each other so they can share the customer base. So these are strategies that we teach them when they go through our. We occasionally, lately, Zoom has been dropping, so I apologize for that. And, our audience.
I thought I was too long-winded and you wanted to get rid of me.
No, not at all. It's just got to. We've had this happen now, I think 3 times. It's a sign of the times we're in, where there's a lot of people at home use assistants, I guess, and Zoom can't handle it, I reckon. But anyway, what we're saying is the third step is they then develop a multi-ownership or a multi-concept business philosophy. And so with a franchise like this, it seems to me that it's a great candidate for that, a great opportunity. Maybe we could talk a little bit about, we don't, because there's so many variables in your business, we probably can't talk about the kind of money any particular franchisee might make, but let's talk about what's a typical job. Like, how much do you normally get the bill? How many hours does it take? That kind of thing. Talk about an assignment, if you will, a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. And it varies so much based on what the individual's goals and desires are. So the nice thing about our business is you can choose to do $30,000 in revenue a year. You can choose to do $200,000 a year in revenue. It's really what your goals and your objectives are. And then you can build your business with whatever type of accounts you choose. So we will come to you and say, hey, we've got this opportunity. It's a veterinarian office that needs to be cleaned, and it's going to be a billing of $1,000 a month. And you can say, boy, that sounds great. Or you can say, that's not for me. Maybe you want to build your business with larger accounts and you want to go after accounts that are doing $2,000 a month. Some franchisees like to just work, on the weekends. So they don't want to take on large accounts. Some just want to work Monday through Friday. Some want to be in a certain geographical area of town. And so it's really hard to say what the typical revenue would be for somebody, because it runs the gamut. We have folks that we have one franchisee, she does very well, and the bulk of her business is just all what we call tag work. It's stripping and waxing tile floors, it's doing carpet cleaning, it's doing window washing. And then you have other folks that they like the Monday through Friday account, the large account where they can have a couple folks in there cleaning. And then you have, like I said, the smaller accounts that are just done maybe 1, 2, 3 days a week. And but what I would always encourage people is, especially if you're new to the system, again, dip your toe in the water. Let's start out with a couple smaller accounts. If we're going to make our mistakes, let's make them there.
Sure.
Yep. And then before we dive into something big. So that's did that answer your question?
I believe it did. What I might suggest is, I think we have a little bit of an echo now since we got back on too, and I apologize to everybody for that. We can't control the technical, that's for sure. But anyway, so Bob, as we talk about this, and so we have an idea of what a day in the life is. Now, the item 7 in your disclosure document says that your range, I believe, is from about $3,145 to around $50,000. Can you explain what the big difference is between the $3,100 minimum cost of running the business and the $50,000? I'm sure it's probably tied to territory and things like that. Can you kind of go through a little bit of those details, what might cause the difference?
Yeah, it's really tied to revenue. So basically, if you want to own a $200,000 business in revenue, then you're going to buy in at that larger level. It ranges the gamut. Like I said earlier, it's really based on what that franchisee is, what their goals are and what their objectives are. Like you said earlier, if they're looking to replace an income of $50,000 a year, well, then we'll look at a different tier of investment levels. And we also, we can finance a lot of this for the franchise candidate as well.
Excellent. So now let me ask this: do y'all help them find the customers?
We do. Now we will train them and teach them how to do that if they so desire. But what I've found, I think most people, the scariest thing about business for most people is going out and knocking on doors and selling. I think that's one of the reasons most people don't do it. And that's the beauty of our business is we have a great marketing program. We got a great sales program. We, sometimes it's, did we put the cart before the carriage? It's, or the horse before the carriage. We don't have a problem getting business. So our sales staff will go out and find the business. And then again, they'll bring it to you and give you the option. Is this an account you'd like? It seems like it's a good fit for you. If not, tell us what you're looking for, and then we'll go out and we'll hunt that. So it's pretty seamless from that standpoint.
So now, is that included with the franchise, or do you charge them a commission for doing that?
Not with their initial package. So if somebody came in and said, I want to do $50,000 in revenue, that's included in their fee.
Gotcha.
If they want to continue to grow the business, yes, there's some sales and marketing fees as they scale.
And that only makes sense, right? Well, and so we talked about a day in the life of who probably makes, it sounds like a person that can follow details, be detail cleaner type thing. But tell us a little bit about who makes the best franchisee and maybe who doesn't make a good franchisee at all.
Sure. I think in our business, if you're not from the service business, it could be a shock to people. So I always tell folks that you have to like people, because we're 100% in the people business. So we're not selling a product, we're selling a service. And if you don't like people, you're probably, not that you couldn't do this business, you just probably wouldn't be happy doing it. What would make a good franchisee in our model is somebody who wants to give good quality service. I mean, IntegriServ, it kind of says it in our name. You have to have integrity, and then you have to like to provide service. And if you don't like those two things, you're probably not a good fit for us, and we would probably be upfront with you. We don't want to damage our brand. We take a lot of pride in what we do, and we want to protect it. So people that are really detailed, people that want to do a good job, people that have those beliefs that we just talked about, and people that have good customer service that want to, I would tell you, in our business, cleaning is 50% of it. The other part of it is probably, relationships with your client. Are you talking to them? Are you asking them if they're satisfied? Are you just making a plain visit and saying thanks for your business? Those things are kind of what we look for. I always tell people, when you come to work, have a smile on your face, and when you go home at night, have a smile on your face. And if you can't do that, we probably don't want you in our culture, because that's no good for anybody.
So who doesn't make a good franchisee?
I think somebody that would, in our business, I always tell people, in 24 years, no customer's ever picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, Bob, you guys did a great job cleaning my 50 toilets and changing my 1,000 trash cans. Usually it's, hey, Bob, you guys missed a trash can in the conference room. And, some people, again, who maybe aren't involved in the service industry, would take offense to that. And they'd say, hey, look, I was in there last night. We worked for 6 hours. I changed every trash can. I know we got that. And they would get defensive. So you can't get defensive. And the folks that would get defensive and not look at it as an opportunity, because I don't even call these complaints. I call them just issues. And that's our time to shine. Let's walk the customer through the issue. Maybe it had nothing to do with our cleaning service. Maybe the door to that room was locked, so we couldn't get in there to get that trash can. Or maybe that floor was sticky because they served lunch after we cleaned, and the shop guys were in there and they got their greasy shoes all over the floor. The person that would take offense or I guess more or less get defensive over an issue is somebody that won't like this business, because issues will come with this business, and it's how you deal with it. And if you deal with it by providing a solution to the customer, that's a win-win. And you can sometimes walk away from an issue like this with more business. And I always give an example to our new franchisees or employees is, hey, I think McDonald's has got a great business. I mean, one of the best stories out there, right? But do they make mistakes? And here's an example of what I tell our people is, if you went to McDonald's and you're hungry and you ordered your cheeseburger, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you forgot to eat, and you're starving and you're really looking forward to eating that cheeseburger, and you get to your table and you sit down and there's no cheese on the burger, you're going to be upset, right? And you're mad because I call it hangry, because it's 2 o'clock and you need to eat. Your blood sugar's low, and
Right.
You go up to the counter, and the poor individual working behind the counter, you kind of maybe spat off to him a little bit, and maybe not as polite as you would be under different circumstances. And it's not even that individual's fault. It's the cook in the back that forgot to put the cheese on, and he's not a bad guy either. He just made a mistake, right? And the girl at the counter or the guy at the counter says, hey, I'm sorry, sir. Let me make that right. I'm going to get a fresh burger for you. And hey, by the way, if you got your receipt on you, why don't you give that to me? I'm going to go ahead and give you your money back. Or I'm going to throw in a free apple pie and a soda, or here's a gift card. It's all in how you handle complaints. So in our industry, I would say the folks that don't have those skills or don't want to learn those skills, they won't be successful, because you are going to have issues, and it's how we deal with the issues that are going to make you successful.
Well, I think it's really good that you shared that with everybody that way. It helped them understand, the kind of personality they need to have to do this business. Now, the business is primarily or exclusively commercial?
It's all commercial.
It's all commercial, okay. And so let's think if there's anything else. So we talked about that. What is the territory, or is that is it more job related than it is territory related?
Absolutely. It's more job or revenue related. Like I said, some folks they don't mind traveling. They've built up a big enough team that they can do that. Other folks just want to stay sort of in a city or a smaller territory, and that's fine too. So it's really based on revenue.
Now, you talked about the fact that you're in the Ohio region and also the Florida area. Are you looking for growth outside those two, or are you looking for mostly franchises in those two states? What's your next strategy for growing the company that way?
Yeah, I think Florida and Ohio, we still want to grow, and there's still a lot of opportunity to grow. It's
2 big states, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of opportunity. Our next state that we're going to enter into is Michigan. We have some business with, again, the company that I founded up in Michigan, that it works really well. The business that I founded, we do a lot of large commercial buildings. So hospitals, large manufacturing facilities, and we've been around 24 years. We got a great reputation. So what happens is we get a lot of calls for requests for cleaning quotes, and we don't necessarily, it's not a good fit for my company to take on the 1 day, the 2 day, the 3 day a week accounts. So we're able to give those accounts to our franchisees. You asked about how we feed the franchisees and how we get them business. That's one of the ways we do it. And so the next market that we would like to go into is the Michigan market, because we've got a lot of business up there. and there's a lot of opportunities. I think there's a good demographic of people that would really benefit from being in our system up in that area.
Well, I know some people look at regional franchises and say that that's not a good thing. Actually, I think it's a great thing because it gives you a chance to focus in and really serve your franchisees well. You're not scattered from here and yonder, and you've got a support team. In fact, you said you have a sales team that's out actually in the market finding business for them. So I think that's a wonderful thing. Now, the one thing we didn't cover is your franchise fee is 10%, if I recall, right?
That's correct.
I mean, excuse me, your royalty, I'm sorry.
The royalty is 10%, yes.
Is there any charge for advertising above? Do they have to commit to a certain amount of advertising? Or like you said, that's kind of included in the level of franchise that they buy?
It's included in there. And I think we have a 1% that we can initiate if we wanted to. We never have. If you haven't gathered it by talking to me, I'm really passionate about what I do, and I want to set our folks up for success. Yeah, and so I look at the advertising as that's my job. I need to grow the business, and I think if we don't ever have to raise that, I'd be happy with that.
Well, certainly, your business is designed to allow people to, like you said, walk into it. They don't have to kill themselves to get into this business. They're not going to have to work for 3 years to pay it off. Their initial investment, they probably pay it off in a couple of months for that matter, depending on how much they're willing to work. I like your model because it says if I'm willing to work, I can make as much as I want. And if I don't really want to have to work that much, I don't have to either. It kind of it fits everyone's kind of purpose, and I think that's a very good thing. Well, we've talked about a lot of things here today. Is there anything in particular you think that we didn't discuss that we ought to?
Well, I think we covered a lot of important things.
I have a question. Do you charge them for cleaning supplies, or you just have a list of stuff that they should buy?
So they can buy their chemicals and products through us. It's not required that they do that. We require them to use a commercial grade, disinfectant or proper chemicals. But I think it makes more sense to, obviously we have pretty good buying power, and
of course, yeah, more power together, right?
Yeah, it makes sense to obviously and to uniform things. It's important when we go to our clients that we can really talk about the products that we're going to use and how it's standardized, and we're using products that are safe. And so it does make a heck of a lot more sense if people do take advantage of that. And the other thing is it's just a lot faster to get, and they can get it on basically credit because it will come out of their franchise statement. It's not like they have to go to the store and write a check or take cash out of their pocket. They can get what they need, and then out of their monthly statement that would be deducted.
Wonderful. Now it is a home-based business. Probably really never has to be a commercial location ever, right? Unless they just might want to.
It doesn't. We have some folks that want to have a little office, and they can have meetings with their staff or interview people, but it doesn't have to be.
So the bigger franchises, they have crews of 2, 3, 4 people, maybe, or even more than that.
Yeah, some of them, over a dozen people.
Wow. Okay. And last thing, I guess these are just things coming to mind since you brought that up. Do you require them to wear uniforms or wrap a vehicle or do any of those type of things?
We require that you have on, a logoed shirt. We like our owners to be in a polo like this or a long sleeve polo, and then we have T-shirts with our logo for any cleaning associate that'd be working with them.
And they don't have to wrap their vehicle, their personal vehicle.
They do not. In our business, again, a lot of our work is done in the evening, so
right.
I don't know that advertising at night is necessarily going to do much for that individual.
So it sounds like somebody really could have a day job if they wanted to own this franchise and do evening work if they wanted to.
They could. It's funny. I told you about that couple that came in the other day, and it was probably the best day I've had in a couple of weeks. Just to to see the excitement on their face of starting a business. And at the same time, it was just kind of funny. We had a veteran franchise that's been in our system for 15 years in the office. And the two of them started talking, and it was kind of cool to hear the story of the veteran that has been with us for 15 years and now does this full time. That's all he does. He's really in love with the business. And he told this couple, he said, look, when I started, I was working, I think he was working for Key Bank at full time, you know, that was his day job. And he said, I wanted to do something part-time supplemental to make some extra cash. And I got into this business. And then I started to discover that I really liked it, and I could do more. And he said within 6 months, you know, he left his full-time day job to do this full-time. That was 15 years ago. So what we see is a lot of people, they come into this with their day job and end up over time, maybe not 6 months, maybe it takes longer, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 2 years, but eventually they go, you know, I'm working for myself. I'm kind of setting my own schedule. I've now replaced my income, so I don't necessarily need that day job anymore. It's sort of a gradual thing that happens. And I mean, that's what really, that's kind of what gets me going. It's kind of fun to watch somebody make that leap. And, you know, I think people are nervous. And so that's why I always encourage them, just don't dive right in. Let's take baby steps, get used to the process. And then once you figure out that we're the real deal and we really do care about you and we're going to do our best to make you successful, then let's take the next leap and grow the business. And then you can quit your day job. So yeah, that's pretty exciting. Hopefully that answered your question.
It did. It was a great answer. And we did mention a veteran, and I believe I read that you do offer a veterans discount too on the fees. And so you know, that's so good. I'm a veteran myself. I spent 8 years in the Air Force, and I think that you know, those of us who get to be to serve our country that way, it's great when business recognizes that and gives us a little leg up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, thank you for your service.
You bet. Well, thank you. And like I said, it's good that you do that, and many franchisors do, some don't. Now, it said on your website that you're SBA qualified, but really, I don't think many people probably ever have to use that, do they?
No, we're qualified during the PPP process.
I see. Okay.
But no, typically they don't. I mean, it makes more sense for them to finance through us.
It sounds like it to me, right? So that's great. You finance the business for them. You can help them get started. You learn from all the mistakes. So you can keep them out of the potholes, if you will. You help them get the business. I mean, they just have to do what you expect. They have to work with integrity. And if they do that, it sounds like this is a great way for a family business to get started, then to grow into maybe a cruise. And eventually, if you wanted to, have a pretty big business if that's what you wanted here. Now, the last question I guess I would have, let's say I bought this franchise and then later on I wanted to buy another franchise. As long as I'm meeting your criteria, you probably don't care, right?
Another franchise
of outside this industry. In other words, I bought
outside of the industry, you know, obviously we don't want you competing with.
No, obviously that makes sense, right? But let's say I decided to do lawn care too. I could do that.
You could, and again, I think we would want to sit down and make sure that that's really what you want and you're ready for it. But no, we're not going to discourage you from you know, following your dreams and getting into another industry.
And your franchise agreement is 5 years or 10 years?
It's 10 years.
10 years, excellent. Well, that's wonderful. Well, I think we've covered it pretty good. You know, I would encourage our students to really take a hard look at this franchise. It's an affordable way to get into business for yourself. Obviously, you can see that Bob is sincere about helping you grow your business. He's got 20 plus years experience. He's built a multi-million-dollar business out of this business. So it tells you that it's a real business. I think in my pre-video research, this industry is growing to be about $180 billion industry. So, you know, right, yeah. It's a significant industry. and with the viral things that have happened in the past, you know, people still needed to have their offices cleaned and all that. So I'm sure it didn't greatly impact your business. And so we're excited to have you part of our interview system. Remember that there'll be a button at the bottom of the video. If you push that, then we'll get your name over to Bob and them so that they know to get in touch with you and help you look at becoming a part of their team. Bob, is there anything else you'd like to say before we close?
I think just to touch on what you said about our industry, I've always said that this business was somewhat recession resistant, and I think during these times it's held up to be more than true. People need cleaning, whether the economy is good or bad. You know, if you want to have your medical facility open, your school, your doctor's office, you have to have cleaning. So I think it's and it's not a business that can be outsourced to another country. The dirt's here, and we got to clean it with people that live here. So it's that's the other exciting thing. It might not be the most glamorous business in the world, right? But it is.
That's usually the businesses that make a lot of money.
And you know, this business has given me and my family a life that I could have only dreamed of when I started. And so it's been good. And I would encourage anybody that's interested in going into business, just do your research, but would love to talk to you and walk you through the process and hopefully you know, help you make those dreams or your goals come true.
Well, we want to thank everybody for being on with us today, and don't forget to push that button so we can get your name over to these guys, and they will help you get started in your business. Goodbye, everybody. Take care.
Hey, thanks for your time.